we are back. So, what do we do with the rest of the body that gets attached to the yoke? The possibilities are endless. See, you have to remember one thing. These are just techniques. Draping, pattern making, and so on. They're just techniques. Yes, it's great to be a great technician, but you want to be a designer. Like, for example, if your car breaks down, you take it to your mechanic. He'll fix your car. He'll fix part A and part B, move this around, change that. He's not designing your car, he's just fixing it. Well, you want to take these techniques and use them. Use them to inspire you to be a brilliant designer. You need to break out of this box. Don't get stuck in these techniques. Don't get stuck in the box. These techniques are here to support you in being a brilliant designer. Got that? Okay, let's get to work. So, for example, here are two simple designs, very similar. One is a short dress, one is a longer version. Very simple yoke, and then gathers or shirring from the yoke down. So how do we make this? So we're gonna start by using our one dart bodice. And once again, we're going to trace our pattern all the way around, which I have done. Then we establish our yoke style line. Right here, there it is. Next, we cut the pattern out and separate the yoke from the body. Well, there's one thing we have to do now. See, this shape here is because there is a dart in this bodice. But as we've noticed, there is no dart in our design. So we need to eliminate this pointy hemline. I'm going to reshape my hemline. Next, I'm going to use the slash and spread method to add fullness to this portion of the body. I'm creating my slash lines. Next, I'm going to slash on these guidelines and separate my pieces. When you're working with fullness, such as gathers or shirring, there's something called ratio. A ratio works like this. For example, a 2-to-1 ratio means that for every 1 inch of one measurement of one seam, we're going to double the other seam. In other words, let's say, for example, this measures 5 inches. Right? My yoke line is 5 inches. I'm going to make this distance 10 inches. I'm going to double it. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. Notice that I decided to add sweep. So for example, here the space is about 2 inches or so. I've made this space here about 3 inches. I've made this bigger than that. That's totally okay. So I've added sweep to the hemline of this top. So once again, using my hip curve, I'm going to blend and create a new hemline. And I'll do the same thing on top, putting my hip curve in place and blend that seam line. And in sewing this, all this fullness will be gathered to fit into this yoke right there. Now, do you remember this yoke, this Western looking yoke? Well, we can add fullness here as well. But there's one thing to note when you have a shaped seam like that. I've created my slash lines. And when you have several pieces like that, it's always a good idea to label it, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also, I'm going to put some notches to help me keep everything in place. So for example, I'm going to put a notch right here and here. So when you have a very uneven seam line like this, at first you would think, well, I'm just going to go ahead and connect here to here and this to this, and this to that, and so on. That is not what you do. What you do is that you blend all these corners using your hip curve or French curve, and you draw one smooth line like that. And once you cut this out, this will be gathered to fit into the yoke. All right, next class, we're gonna work on a really cool design. We're gonna be working with princess seams and princess style lines. So stay tuned, I'll see you next class.